I don't know if Chile should be fired, and I don't know if he shouldn't. I just kind of take inside what I never felt like the hitting coach really got me any hits, but certainly there were certain guys over the course of my career, like a Rudy Jaramillo in Texas, that had just a monster impact on what I was doing.
Well, Mark, let me ask you this way, because it drives me crazy, and I understand analytics are part of the game, and they're not going anywhere, right? But there's got to be a balance, right? When Scott is meeting with the media last night, and he keeps on talking about over and over ad nauseum the process, right? And it's not about the results; it's about the process. Well, we know the Mets have struggled here offensively, right? Outside the last 3 games, bad with runners in scoring position, really bad all the way around. You mentioned the Lindor struggles. Well, if you didn't love the way that Chile coached your players, or you didn't believe in his philosophy that he had as a hitting coach, well, it's not like this is his first job as a hitting coach in Major League Baseball. Yeah. Why wouldn't you then make the decision before the start of this year, before allowing it to kind of seep in, and then now having this organizational shift 23 games in?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it screams to the fact that they were leaning this way coming kind of into the season, and maybe giving Chile a chance to see if he could have a breakthrough with a Pete Alonso, or a breakthrough with a Frankie Lindor, or a breakthrough with any young hitter on the Mets. So, I mean, to make this move this quick, I will say this. When I watch the Mets, and I didn't grow up a Met fan. I grew up in New Jersey, and I was a Yankee fan. When I watch the Mets, they love being around each other. Like, you can tell there's a love amongst the 26 guys. They really enjoy, like, there needs to be more. There needs to be more of a sense of urgency. The Braves are reeling. This division's gettable. They're, without question. They put a starter on the mound every night that gives you a chance to compete, and they're going to get Carrasco and Syndergaard back. If they're not thinking World Series or bust, then shame on them. And I think maybe the front office, Sandy, is like, hey, we're not wasting one more second here. We know we have the talent to compete in October. We're not going to waste Jacob deGrom starts anymore. We have to find a way to get this offense going. And if this shakes the tree, then so be it.
Mark, how about, you mentioned Lindor. What do you see when you're watching Francisco up at the plate right now? He struggled with scoring position. He's not the offensive player he was in Cleveland year one. Obviously, he's locked in for 10 more years after this season. So what do you see from Lindor, and how he can start to shake out of this offensively and be the player that we've seen him be?
Yeah, I think he's just fundamentally speaking, he's completely disconnected at the plate. I mean, his lower half is just getting pulled in the first base dugout, while his upper half is just not going along for the ride. So he's just completely discombobulated from a mechanical standpoint at the plate. Very fixable. One swing will get him out of it. He's too good a player. I've said this. I mean, it's a shame. I'm not Frankie Lindor, and I never had to hit 3-4 in a lineup or have $341 million strapped to my back. But I did get traded to Cleveland in 2009 after having 2 productive years in Chicago, and I started 0 for 17, and it's a nightmare. You kind of looking up in the sky going, why are you putting me through this in a new place? So times that by 1,000 for him. He's carrying the weight of the world, and all you heard was, this team needs a pillar, it needs a foundation, it needs a franchise player, it needs a leader, it needs all these things. I think everybody just needs to give Frankie just like, hey, be a ball player, and we'll figure out the leader part and the community part and everything that goes into it. Let's get you comfortable in a Mets uniform. But this is one of the best players in the game. I got to believe in my heart that this ends sooner rather than later for him.
And Mark, the best pitcher in the game is on the mound tonight for the Mets in St. Louis, and that being Jacob deGrom. You played the game. I didn't. I mean, it's amazing watching him work. What surprises you, or what amazes you watching deGrom work, and just how good he is?
The fact that he gives the impression he's playing catch. I mean, I tell this to my son. I tell this to kids, the 11U team that I coach. 80 will get you 100. I don't need you swinging and you're screwing yourself into the ground or trying to throw the ball 1,000,000 miles an hour. he literally looks like he's barely breaking a sweat, playing catch with James McCann at 99 to 100 miles an hour and he didn't, and he'll admit this, he didn't have as good control the last start. So I'm interested to see. I'm sure he's worked on his front side. He talked about my front side was flying open. I was missing a little arm side run, a little up against Boston. So I'm interested to see. I guarantee you he is dialed in tonight.
Mark, we get a lot of criticism of Rojas as Mets manager. Do you look at Luis Rojas? Do you think he's a guy vastly inexperienced at the position and at the job, got experience a year ago? But do you look at Rojas as being a guy capable of getting, as you mentioned, World Series expectations, getting this team where they need to go?
I do, and you know what? I'm again not in the foxhole with the guys, but a lot of these guys raved about him coming up through the minor leagues, that they had played for him and had appreciated him in the minor leagues and the way he went about it. So he's certainly got some pressure on him. I always look back at like an Atlanta Braves situation. Anyone who played in that organization came through an affiliate and were managed by Brian Snitker. And that's kind of why it works in the big leagues, because everyone knows his style and what he's about. It seems like the younger generation from the Alonsos and all those guys seem to rave about Luis Rojas, but I'll say this in New York. I agree with the same thing with Chili Davis. This is a situation where I feel like Stevie Cohen is kind of guaranteed playoffs, World Series, 3 to 5 years. Let's get it done. So if I were him, I'd certainly be trying to put my best foot forward every night.
We're chatting with Mark DeRosa, MLB Network, MLB Central, with Robert Flores and Lauren Shahadi, weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on MLB Network. All right, Mark, it's going to be a scene tonight. It's not going to be a packed Bronx, right? So, I mean, it's not going to be 50,000 plus, which is unfortunate because the Boo Birds, it would be some scene. But what about the reaction that you expect the Astros to get tonight from Yankee fans?
Deservedly so. Whatever they get, I think it's coming to them. Listen, I do believe in my heart that if we dove super deep into this cheating scandal, that a lot more teams would go down than the Houston Astros. So I
don't disagree with that.
I will say they just went to a point where it was so egregious that the Yankees fans they're going to have their way with them. Still amazing that Jose Altuve was able to take a slider from Aroldis Chapman and hit it off the facade in Houston to decide that series. But I do not believe in my heart, and will never believe in my heart, that he had a buzzer on him. So, I'm more look forward to, listen, the fans can have their say. I'm more looking forward to the actual series, the McCullers-Cole matchup eventually. The Yankees are starting to play well. It's obvious that the starting staff likes throwing to Mr. Higashioka a heck of a lot better than Mr. Sanchez. I mean, the proof's in the pudding out of the chute with Klubers of the world just dominating his last couple starts. So I want the Yankees to get rolling. And I grew up a Yankee fan. I know I can't have bias, but it's tough for me when I watch them early April. And Booney's a close friend. Phil Nevin's a close friend. So, I do root for them to get hot.
Yeah, and Mark, I grew up a Yankee fan myself, and I was really concerned with this rotation and how taxed the bullpen was early on in the season. They've turned a corner here. Do you think, what we've seen from Kluber lately, what we've seen from Herman, who's going to be on the mound tonight, that this shift is real tangible, that this is what they're going to be here moving forward?
Moose, I ain't going that far because I think you put Kluber in a tough spot. I really do. 36 and a third or 2/3 innings coming into the season, and you're like, he's coming out of spring as your lockdown 2. That's tough for me. Jameson Taillon, lockdown 3. I mean, my expectations would be higher with Herman and Montgomery leaving Tampa. That being said, I hope Corey Kluber's a 2 and pitches like vintage Corey Kluber. I just thought that was a lot to put on him leaving spring training. And like you talked about the bullpen. Offensively, I think a lot of teams have started slow. I mean, we could go down the whole rabbit hole of why the numbers are down, and I mean, I truly believe if you eliminate the shift, you'll incentivize guys to stop making so many outs the way they make them. But I think the Yankees will find a way to right the ship. But it is if you're in the trust tree, it is a flawed roster when you watch it night after night.
Yeah, it really is. And their approach offensively. I mean, Mark, the other thing is if they're not hitting the ball over the fence, they have trouble stringing together, hits. I mean, it was impressive last night to watch that Cardinal-Met game and see St. Louis string together 5 consecutive hits, all with 2 outs, one of them being the Arenado 3-run home run. The bullpen Chapman, Mark, is this the best Aroldis Chapman with that new pitch? Is this the best that Chapman's ever looked?
Yeah, obviously. I saw Chapman when he first came over, and he was nothing but 104 in a cloud of dust. The thought of a breaking ball was like, whatever, man. I'm not even going to honor that. Now you have to. Now he's got weapons to kind of get you off, like committing to heater all the time. He has really gone next level with some of his off-speed stuff, and he's become. I mean, he's probably the most intimidating pitcher in the league, and then back that up with just filthy stuff. Yeah, he's on top of his game.
Mark, let's ask a couple, around the league here. Lack of offense, the thing that surprised you most early on in this season, or no?
The umpires in the replay is what's blown me off my chair the first month of the year. Some of the calls I've seen. The lack of offense for me is 2 things. I hear people screaming about it. For me, it's very easy. The pitchers are just so nasty now, so different. You're never seeing the same guy more than once or twice in a game, which becomes super hard. And the analytics have put guys in positions where you just can't get base hits anymore. They're just not out there for you. So I hear all these people talk about, well, just go the other way or redo. Like, is that what you want? Is that the game we want? I'm a big proponent of eliminating the shift and incentivizing guys in the offseason to get back to a more line drive approach. You can't ask one of my best friends in the world is Brian McCann. He was a Yankee. I mean, You can't ask him to come into Yankee Stadium when there's 15 guys on the right side of second base and not want to hit a home run. I mean, you're not paying him $85 million to push bunt the other way. So I think a lot of players have become incentivized and have changed the way they have done their off-season work to kind of combat it. But the problem is they can't. They end up hitting 230 with 18, 19 homers. And I'd rather see 280 with 12 and see you run the bags a little bit more. So that's my soapbox.
Mark, I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that. You know what I love? I love Dodgers Padres. I love Yankees Rays, right? I love where you have teams that really don't like one another, and you see it kind of escalate on the field a little bit. Like Mets Phillies, I know you can get it, some of it is too much, but I like that. I mean, the Dodgers Padres to begin those 2 straight weekends where you got 7 games between those two was absolutely fantastic. Baseball needs more of that, Mark, where you have teams that can't. The rivalries are great, and those 2 teams together on the field, it was just fantastic baseball.
And I think honestly, with the way these guys have kind of embraced the whole bat flip, showing emotion generation, they're going to create more rivalries than we even think are out there. I mean, that Mets Phillies always is a tough series, but I didn't know the history that Dom Smith and Alvarado had before that moment. I was like, whoa, this guy just blacked out on the mound, and then they go back and chronicle it, and you're like, all right, this is something I'm going to watch. So, yeah, I thought the Padres, Dodgers, those first couple games, from the Mookie Betts catch to just kind of everything, it's the typical, you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And A.J. Preller went out and tried to get the Yu Darvishes and the Musgroves and the Blake Snells to try and compete with the Dodgers, but until you beat them, they still got your number.
You mentioned the Alvarado Dom Smith stuff. Ron Darling on SNY wanted, Dom Smith to finish it on the field there, right? If you were Dom Smith there with Alvarado calling you out, would you have tried to finish it on the field there, Mark?
It's a tough one, right? I always said to myself, I don't think I'm charging ever. I never was. I only think I was drilled one time on purpose, but I I never thought to charge the mound. I think you're in a lose-lose situation early. I like what Dom's saying. If you got a problem, that's how guys handled it back in the day. If you have a true problem with me, you can call over, and there'll be no one around. There's a lot of different places you can go hide in the bowels of a stadium and figure out your differences. And that happened a lot more than
did you break up?
Really
did you, Mark? Well, have you broken up any? Have you come in and you've seen two guys getting into it, where you've had to get into? Have you gotten into the middle? Have you?
Only one that I can remember two good brawls. One, I was a call up in '99. We were in the Astrodome, and Carl Everett was on third base, and he was jawing with our dugout, and he started to walk to our dugout, and the benches cleared. And in 1999, I was 24 years old. Thin, raw,
right?
And I was like, "Whoa, these are grown men out here." So I was like, "Ugh, like I'm gonna get hurt." Then the second one was a bean brawl with Texas and the Angels in Arlington, and that I was feeling frisky. I was more in my prime, and I was looking to get in the middle of it. So that one I actually was rolling around at the bottom. But there's no, you got to pick or choose. You're either a peacemaker or you're all in. There's no in between.
So the first one you were a peacemaker. The second one you were all in.
The first one I was scared. The second one I liked my matchup.
Mark, I appreciate it. Final question would be this: how are you as a coach with coaching your son's under 11 team? Are you one that's bringing up the highlights of when you did it, Mark? Are you a screamer or are you a holler? Like, how are you as a coach?
I'm very positive because nothing they're going to do at 11 years old is going to matter in whether or not they play in the big leagues.
Gotcha.
Enjoy the game.
That's it. Mark DeRosa, MLB Network. Check him out. Lauren Shahadi, Robert Flores, MLB Central, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. each and every day, Monday through Friday. Hey, Mark, great catching up with you. It's been too long, man.
Thanks.
Glad you and your family are doing well, and we'll chat again soon, all right?
Thanks for having me. Take care.
You got it.